All right. Welcome back to the Draft Podcast, part of the Gem City Sports Podcast Network. I'm your host, Paul Adamaszek, and I just want to say thank you all for checking out episode 1. If you missed it, we laid the foundation for what this podcast is all about. First, my borderline unhealthy obsession with football, the NFL Draft, and why this is absolutely my favorite time of year. So today we're diving headfirst into one of the most exciting and polarizing positions of any draft class, the quarterbacks. Let's be clear, the NFL draft, and especially the first round, is pretty much built around identifying and acquiring the right QB. They're the face of the franchise, the make or break pick, the one guy who can turn around an entire team or get the entire front office fired. So here's today's question. Is this year's QB class full of heroes or headaches? Are we looking at the next Patrick Mahomes or a lineup of Daniel Jones and Kenny Pickett's? Today, we'll try to take a closer look and avoid any potential Vietnam flashbacks by picking the wrong guy. But in order to answer that question, we must first answer another question. What does it take to succeed as a quarterback in today's NFL? Is there a formula for finding a successful NFL quarterback? Is it about just raw arm talent, or are we looking at a more convoluted evaluation? For decades, coaches, scouts, and GMs have tried to come up with a perfect recipe. One of the best starting points is Bill Parcells' famous rules for drafting quarterbacks. You may have heard of these. They're like the 10 commandments of old school QB evaluation. Let's go through them real quick. First, must be a 3-year starter. Second, must be a senior in college. Third, he must graduate from college by the time the season starts. Number 4, start 30 games in college. Number 5, win at least 23 of those games. Number 6, a 2-to-1 touchdown to interception ratio. Number 7, complete 60% of his passes. And number 8, and I kind of shrunk this one down, needs to demonstrate being calm under pressure and show leadership both on and off the field. This needs to be a true, leader of men. So on paper, those rules sound great, but let's be honest. How many of today's NFL stars actually checked all of those boxes? Patrick Mahomes meet all these criteria? Nope. Josh Allen? Absolutely not. Kyler Murray? He wasn't even in college long enough to spell senior. But here's the thing. Those rules still give us a baseline. They're not a checklist. They're a starting point. Parcells was saying, if you want a quarterback who's ready to lead a team, he needs to have experience, composure, and a proven ability to win. It's about finding a guy who's battle-tested. So let's talk about how that translates into today's NFL. Surprise, the game has changed. It's faster. Defenses are far more complex, and mobility, something Parcells didn't prioritize at all, is now a must-have. Think about the quarterbacks dominating right now. Mahomes, Allen, Jalen Hurts, Jaden Daniels. They're not just throwing darts, they're making plays with their legs, keeping defenses guessing, and the key is forcing them to play a true 11-on-11 game of football. But it's not just about being athletic. If that were the case, Justin Fields would be a 5-time Super Bowl champion right now. But he's not. You know why? Because the best QBs combine physical tools with the intangibles: decision-making, leadership, accuracy, poise under pressure. Think Peyton Manning. Nobody's calling him a dual threat, but he's got ice in his veins. Or Drew Brees. Guy's barely 6 foot tall, but the accuracy in decision-making made him one of the all-time greats. I think here's an anecdote to drive it home. When Tom Brady was drafted in the 6th round, he didn't check most of Parcells' boxes either. He wasn't by any means a physical specimen. He ran the 40-yard dash in the same time someone carrying groceries up a hill. But what he did have, and what every great quarterback has, is the ability to win the mental game. So what's the modern blueprint for a franchise QB? If I'm to update Parcells' draft list for a QB, here's what I'd add. Arm talent, sure, but also accuracy and touch. Anticipation, which leads to decision-making, especially under pressure. Mobility, not just for big plays, but to keep plays alive and extend drives ultimately. And finally, adaptability. Because in today's NFL, defenses evolve every week, and your quarterback needs to stay a step ahead. So let's see how the QBs in this year's class stack up against those standards. And spoiler alert, not all of them passed the test. Let's start at the top. Cam Ward, University of Miami, 6'2", 223 pounds. Oh, by the way, these are all pre-combine numbers. The combine starts in like 2 or 3 weeks, so we'll have a little bit more on the physicals around then. This is just what was listed in the program. So at this point, he could be 6 foot 205. We don't really know. But he's listed at 6'2", 223. He'll turn 23 on May 25th. He has 57 collegiate starts, win-loss record of 35-22. I do a little bit of his background. Began his journey as a wing T quarterback, so his passing playbook coming out of high school was pretty simple. Waggle left, waggle right, and pray somebody's open on 4 verts. That's about it for the wing T. He dominated at Incarnate Word, University of the Incarnate Word in Texas, before transitioning to Washington State and later the University of Miami, where he exploded this past season for over 4,300 passing yards and 39 touchdowns. He was a Heisman finalist and a Davey O'Brien Award for the best QB winner. Okay, so pretty good to go in. Take a look at the pros to start. We want to start high, and then we'll kind of take them down a bit. I'll start with elite arm talent, okay? Ward's arm strength and elasticity allow him to make every throw on the field, whether it's layering a ball over defenders or ripping it into tight windows. His velos have velocity and touch. And from a personal note, the ball, just watching this guy, the ball absolutely explodes off his hand. Another pro, playmaker extraordinaire. A natural improviser, he thrives when the plays break down. His ability to extend plays with his mobility and keep his eyes downfield makes him especially dangerous off script and out of structure. We want a QB who's able to play on the script within structure, but it certainly makes a difference when you can have a guy who, when all of that breaks down, and in the NFL, inevitably it will, it's good to have a guy who's just a natural improviser. It's not a skill he has to come in and develop. He does it as well as anybody in the QB class this year. Another positive, flexibility and his mechanics. An exceptional ability to throw from multiple arm slots and platforms, maintaining accuracy and power in difficult situations. This is when he's rolling out. This is when he's throwing off his back foot. This is when he's got a guy in his face. He's able to throw from the top, the 45, the sidearm sling. We saw that in the games this past weekend. You got to be able to throw at multiple arm angles, and he can do it without losing accuracy, touch, and most importantly, power. Another positive, command at the line of scrimmage. Watch this guy. He's good. He handles pre-snap reads, handles protection calls, and audibles with poise. His presence shows leadership and preparation. We got to go back 57 career starts, played at a wing T offense, and then he went to a spread at Washington State, a little more pro style at Miami. He's seen a lot of football. He's seen a lot of defenses, how they react to certain things. So his football IQ going into the NFL is pretty high. Miami trusted him to make checks and protection call changes at the line, which shows the coaches really respect his ability to prepare his offense for the upcoming play. Another positive, I'm going to nail it again, mobility. I wouldn't call him a dual threat quarterback. He uses his athleticism to evade pressure and create opportunities, really as evidenced by his ability to generate chunk plays with his legs. And actually, I have it with a couple of asterisks here. He could probably utilize his legs more, to be honest. I think part of that this season was Miami coaches telling him, hey, we want to get you ready for the draft. Coaches have to see that you can play from within the pocket in order to play in the NFL. I think once he gets to the NFL and kind of shows that, yep, I've got that, I think coaches are going to say, hey, dude, you can run more, if you need to. I think this guy's more like a Patrick Mahomes runner. More athletic than you realize, doesn't really use his legs to create plays all that often. He's not Lamar Jackson, but he can. 3rd and 3, everybody goes downfield. Defense is a little soft underneath. He is more than capable of scrambling for a few and picking up a first down. And finally, under the pros, I have clutch performer. Ward, he absolutely has ice in his veins. demonstrated by multiple comeback victories this past year, including that signature 25-point rally against Cal. It doesn't really matter how many points his team is behind. Coaches give him the go-ahead, and guys just follow. They follow his lead, and he's shown an ability to come back in the clutch. Skip Bayless used to call it a clutch gene. Cam Ward has the clutch gene, so no worries there. All right, let's go to the cons. We have to. The guy's turnover prone. 7 interceptions this year. Not too bad, but he did have 8 fumbles, and we can't do that. His aggressive mentality often results in high-risk decisions, leading to unnecessary interceptions and fumbles. He forces some things. It'll be a little bit different in the NFL. He's going to have more pass catchers and weapons available to him, but still, the fumbles concern me. He had 39 passing touchdowns to 7 interceptions. That's not bad at all. But 15 total turnovers in 24, we need to cut that number in half. Second con, hero ball tendencies is what I labeled it as. He does rely too much sometimes on creating big plays rather than just taking what's there. Sometimes the check down gain of 4 is better than heaving it downfield in a potential 50-yard interception downfield. He just needs to embrace simpler, more efficient options. The old saying is, you can't go broke taking a profit. It's one of those things. It's a mentality thing. Another con, inconsistent mechanics. He can do it, but the footwork can get sloppy, particularly under pressure. We talked about throwing on multiple arm angles and throwing off his back foot, which he can do, but you're never going to make it in the NFL throwing off your back foot. You want to throw with good, proper mechanics. You want to do it consistently as much as you can, because especially the accuracy tends to waver sometimes on those deep throws, which he likes to make. He can certainly make with that arm. He likes to do it. Better mechanics, and he'll see more success at the NFL level. Another con, decision-making under pressure. This may be the biggest one to me. Predetermined snap reads could lead him into trouble against disguised coverages, especially going against complex NFL rotations. This was something he struggled with this year. I did say he was able to make checks at the line. He sees something. He makes a change. He wants to go towards something like an easy read. Here's a run read. This guy steps this way. I'm going to put the ball here. He did see a few times, especially late in the season, when defenses showed him one thing, he adjusted to what they showed them. They disguised it. As soon as the ball snapped, they roll from cover 2 to cover 3, or they roll from zone to man, or vice versa. And he can get caught in those sort of quick in-between moments. And finally, the final con I have on him is development required. Despite his success, Ward remains raw in areas like timing, rhythm passing, and honestly fully utilizing his athleticism. So this isn't a finished product by any measure. He has a lot of tools, but there's a way to go. So here's the overall view. Cam Ward is the epitome of a high ceiling, high variance prospect. I'm trying not to say boomer bust. So high ceiling, high variance. I'd call him a supercharged Geno Smith, blending dynamic arm talent, backyard creativity, and a gamer's mentality with the volatility of a gunslinger. His ability to operate outside of structure and deliver highlight reel plays is tailor-made for today's NFL offenses, particularly in vertical systems that leverage his big play potential. However, his inconsistencies and decision-making lapses mean he'll need patient coaching and a strong offensive framework to succeed. Ward has franchise quarterback potential, but teams must balance his profile when investing early draft capital. With some refinement, he could become a dynamic NFL starter capable of not just operating, but elevating an offense. At the end of the day, I have Cam Ward as I have him at the top of my list. I think he has the highest ceiling. He has a lower floor than the next guy on my list, but if I'm a team in need of a quarterback this year, and I'm a GM with a pair of cojones, I say, listen, Cam Ward is my guy, and I confidently walk to that podium and take Cam Ward as the first QB off the board. All right, let's go to the second QB, I believe, coming off the board. Shedeur Sanders out of the University of Colorado. 6'1", 200 pounds. He just turned 22 in February. Good young prospect. 50 collegiate starts by age 22. Incredible. And in those 50 starts, he went 36-14. That's very good. Let's start with the pros. Elite pocket passer. One of the purest pocket passers in this draft class, and actually in a few years. Accuracy, particularly in the short to intermediate range, is surgical, as evidenced by his FBS leading 74.2% completion rate, 3 out of 4. At any level of football, that's incredible. Another pro, advanced football IQ. Sanders processes defenses with a veteran savvy. He excels at pre-snap adjustments, working through progressions, and exploiting defensive leverage. And by this point, I'm sure you've all heard he was mentored by Tom Brady. All right, we heard that. We know that. Whatever Tom Brady means to you, he worked with Shedeur a lot. Another pro, poise under pressure. Consistently delivers from muddy pockets. He did not have a good line at University of Colorado, and handles chaos with calmness, maintaining mechanics and accuracy even when defenders close in. And I have another, had a lot to do at Colorado. The O-line was a hot mess. That was my note. So I'm pretty consistent. All right, next pro, clutch performer, another clutch gene guy, proven winner, 36 wins and 50 starts with exceptional late game poise. This guy gets better in the fourth quarter. He reads defenses. He knows what's coming. By the time you get to the fourth, he's seen everything that a defense can throw at him. He's able to adjust. He has a knack for elevating his game in critical moments, showcasing leadership and resilience. We go back to the Bill Parcells list. So those are both on there. Another pro, this goes under accuracy, ball placement. Okay, this is a big one. He thrives at throwing receivers open. All right, something like a guy like Carson Beck at Georgia. He's throwing to an open receiver, but it's not where the receiver can just pluck it and keep running. Shedeur excels at throwing receivers open, protecting them from big hits, and his ability to fit passes into tight windows is what I'd call NFL caliber. He sees 3 defenders. He knows to throw it low and away and only the spot that his receiver can get. He's very, very good at that. And finally, into the pros, mobility and playmaking. Well, I wouldn't call him a dual threat. I would say he has sufficient plus mobility to extend plays and create opportunities outside of structure. So once again, not a guy, he's not Lamar Jackson. He's not a guy who's going to make his living running down the field for first downs, but he's able to escape from pressure. He keeps his eyes downfield and makes it and does a nice job of extending plays after they break down. Okay, so those are the pros. I'm terrible. Let's go to the cons. Cons for Shedeur Sanders. Pressure-related sacks. This is the one I have at the top of the list. His tendency to hold on to the ball too long contributes to a high sack rate. He took 52 sacks in 2024. No bueno. He needs to throw it away or utilize checkdowns more effectively, more often. Once again, can't go broke taking a profit. Sometimes it's just better to live to fight another day. A gain of 0 is better than a loss of 5. All right. Next con, limited arm strength. Sufficient for NFL throws, but nobody's going to call Sanders' arm elite. He limits his ability to attack defenses vertically with ease. This is more of a West Coast pocket, on-time, on-target guy than a Josh Allen. All right, play action, stand back there for a couple of seconds and heave it. All right, next con, anticipation concerns. He's sort of a see it, throw it passer at times. Sanders needs to improve his timing to anticipate routes before they break. I have a note here that says be more like Tua, which is kind of the way it is. A guy with limited arm strength, you have to throw the ball before the receiver comes open. So as they dip into that break, know where they're going to be and be able to drive that ball to where the receiver is going, as opposed to waiting till they break, seeing it, and then throwing it. So a little bit better anticipation will help him at the next level. Another con, he tends to drift in the pocket, sometimes drifts backward under pressure rather than stepping up or outside, which impacts velocity and invites additional pressure. The further back you go, the farther you have to throw it. Defenses really like to go forward and back as opposed to side, step up, step out, keep your eyes downfield instead of drifting backwards. And finally, my last con, and this is a big one, he has some durability concerns. Lean frame raises concerns about how he'll handle NFL-level hits, especially given his tendency to take unnecessary punishment. And I'll go back to 52 sacks in 2024. He's a slight guy, under 220 pounds. He's going to take a punishment. Or he's going to get hurt at that size if he doesn't learn to throw it away. I did the background in a different order this time. So instead of doing that first, I guess I'll do it last. This guy has a pedigree, son of a Hall of Famer. Maybe you've noticed Shedeur was immersed in elite football environments from a young age. Obviously, his father's influence is evident in his confidence and certainly the football IQ. Another thing that we can mention about Shedeur is production. After dominating at Jackson State, Sanders seamlessly transitioned to Power 5 competition at Colorado, rewriting the record books there. His final season saw 4,134 passing yards, 37 touchdowns, and a 74% completion rate. And finally, here it is, mentorship. Mentored by Tom Brady. Sanders' fundamentals, especially the footwork and mechanics, are exceptionally refined for a player at this stage and at his age. Once again, just turned 22. Incredible. So here's my overall view as for Shedeur Sanders, my number 2 quarterback. Shedeur is a polished, high-floor prospect who projects as a starting quarterback at the NFL level. His game combines the precision of a timing-based passer with the resilience of a battle-tested leader. While his physical tools won't wow teams in the way of a Matt Stafford or a Caleb Williams, his mental processing, ball placement, and command of an offense are NFL-ready traits. Those are big. Comparatively speaking, Sanders brings shades of Joe Burrow's poise and C.J. Stroud's accuracy. He's not a QB you draft for sheer flash, but rather for the ability to stabilize a franchise and elevate those around him. In the right system, ideally one emphasizing quick throws, rhythm passing, and a strong run game, Sanders has championship-level potential. With proper coaching to address his pocket discipline and anticipation, he could blossom into a reliable franchise cornerstone. For teams seeking an immediate starter and leadership with a high ceiling for growth, Sanders is top tier. Again, I went back and forth between Shedeur and Cam Ward, as I think many front offices are doing right now. I have Shedeur as the number 2, basically because he doesn't have as high of a ceiling. I said higher floor, lower ceiling. But if your team is in the market for a quarterback, drafting Shedeur Sanders, I feel very confident that you'll get positive results early. So those are my top 2. Okay, those are my first rounders. Now what I have listed are the best of the rest. These guys, I don't think are first round talents. We may see some first round picks from these next coming quarterbacks, but I don't see any first round talents. Are you seeing the difference here? Okay, so my best of the rest, my number 3 quarterback in this class, Jalen Milroe out of Alabama. 6'2", 220 pounds, turns 23 this December. So a very young 22-year-old. Milroe is the most physically gifted quarterback in this class. Should I say it again? Milroe is the most physically gifted quarterback in this class. It's not close. Boasting elite athleticism and a howitzer for an arm. He hit nearly 22 miles an hour on unscripted runs. As a track coach, that's hella fast, which showcased his relative level of athleticism among his peers. Remember, he played at Alabama, so his peers are some athletic dudes. All right. The most athletic dude at a school famous for its insane level of athletes. All right. That's what I'm saying. Now, here's the fun part. Everybody talks about the physical traits. Here's the mental side of it. 3-time academic All-American and the 2024 William V. Campbell Trophy Award winner. The William V. Campbell Trophy is the academic Heisman. All right. So all of the football players in the country, they say this is like the smartest guy. However, his mechanics and timing definitely need refinement, making him a super high ceiling, but ultimately developmental prospect. My projection for Milroe is a high round 2. This is the guy who goes 33, 34, 35. I think teams trade around between day 1 and day 2, seeing Milroe still on the board because of the just unlimited physical potential, and the guy's got it between the ears. Here's what I wrote up. He's a Malik Willis type. If he plays too early, he'll be viewed as a bust. But the brain and the physical tools are so immense, I can see a coaching staff falling in love with the guy and overdrafting him a bit. If he gets the first round label, I don't know if he'll ever live up to it. He's going to be a tremendous Madden QB, may eventually turn into a viable NFL starter, needs to clean up his passing mechanics, and that's the big one. Everything he threw this past season was outside the numbers, so he needs to learn to control the middle of the field. And you're going to have to throw between the numbers in the NFL if you want to make a living, or else cornerbacks are just going to absolutely eat your lunch if you keep throwing sideways. So Jalen Milroe is my number 3. Let's go number 4. And this 4, 5, 6, 7 is so close right now. I put it in this order. Maybe you can just hear in my breakdowns as of why. Number 4, I have Quinn Ewers out of Texas. Ewers thrives as a distributor in short to intermediate areas. Overall, he lacks the elite arm strength for consistent deep shots, as we saw. The deep throws tend to sail a bit. He doesn't have that high velocity arm. His decision-making and pocket patience are inconsistent, but they're there enough to warrant a draft pick, though his ball placement stands out in clean situations. This is a guy who you want to play from the pocket. I see Quinn as a high-level backup QB. If he's your starter for a season, probably not going to work out well for you, but he is a guy who I think at the NFL can take the reins for a week or two. Maybe your QB goes out in the second or third quarter and you need somebody to finish the game. I think Ewers has that. Listen, he has the leadership, big dude, enough arm strength, NFL prerequisite strength, and really is good in these short to intermediate throws. I have Ewers projected as a 3rd to 4th round pick in terms of talent. Once again, I will say QBs get overdrafted, so I wouldn't be surprised to see Ewers go in round 2 or early round 3. So Ewers I have at number 4. Number 5, he's shooting up a lot of draft boards. I want to see the numbers when he comes out from the combine. But what I've watched of Jackson Dart from Ole Miss, solid athleticism and decent arm strength. He's my number 5 QB. Flashes of touch and playmaking ability on the move. However, struggles under pressure and in working through progressions, issues that are going to be magnified in the NFL. He's a one-read thrower. Athletic without being, a super mobile dual threat guy. He can move around. He's definitely a developmental project, but he's got to get off the first read. He had a great receiver this past year in Trey Harris, so I think that bumped his numbers a little bit. Jackson Dart from Ole Miss, I have projected another 3rd to 4th round guy who I could see sneaking into the 2nd or 3rd round just because teams love upside. Jackson Dart definitely has that. Number 6. Can't believe I have this guy this low, but the physicals, they just scare me a bit. I have Dillon Gabriel out of Oregon. Seasoned passer, over 17,000 career yards in college, excels at timing and schemed up throws, but really is limited by a small frame and just average arm strength, making him better suited for a system-driven role. I have his projection as a round 4 quarterback, and actually, you can see the jerseys behind me. I wouldn't mind to see Dillon Gabriel in the aqua and orange. I think he's almost like a smaller, a little bit weaker, if you can imagine that, Tua Tagovailoa. He's a guy that you just want to sit in the pocket, make quick reads, compact, throwing motion. Isn't really going to throw it down the field all that effectively at the NFL level. But again, another guy who projects to me as a number 2 at best in his career, but definitely has the brain to play in the NFL. You don't throw for 17,000 yards in college by accident. Gabriel will play at the next level. I have him projected as a 4th rounder because of his physicals. Once again, wouldn't be surprised to see this guy sneak into round 3. So Dillon Gabriel out of Oregon, my number 6 quarterback in this class. Moving down the list, and here where this might get a little controversial, especially after last night. Will Howard out of Ohio State. Will brings a pro-ready frame and experience in NFL-style systems, but lacks elite traits. There isn't anything that absolutely pops about this guy that says this is an NFL QB. Inconsistent mechanics, sometimes risky predetermined reads limit his upside, but his overall size, mobility, we saw it on display Monday night in the national championship game. He can run for a big guy, and definitely has poise and leadership that make him an intriguing backup prospect. When I made my list, I projected Will Howard as a round 4 to round 5 kind of guy. I still think once we get a couple of weeks removed from the Ohio State National Championship, ratings will come back, sort of regress to the mean. I have Will Howard as the 7th best quarterback in this class, projected between rounds 4 and 5 as a prospect. Another backup QB at best. Number 8 and number 9 are kind of guys that I like. These are long shots for different reasons, but just guys who I can just see, the starting quarterback goes out with an injury. Maybe this guy just looked good in camp, but if these guys get a chance in an actual NFL game that matters, I think they can surprise potentially. So number 8, Curtis Rourke from Indiana. All right, hear me out on this. This dude's big, 6'5", 223 pounds. You got to understand, when a guy like this walks into a coaching office and the head coach looks at a 6'5", 223 pound dude with an absolute rocket for an arm, he goes, yeah, we can work with this. Traditional pocket passer with great anticipation. We talked about that, and accuracy downfield. I will say his lack of mobility and older age for a rookie, he's going to be 25 this season, could limit his adaptability to the NFL. I project him as a round 5 guy. I absolutely think this guy's going to get picked. Like I said, just because you got a big arm and you're 6'5", you can and manage a game from the pocket. Again, he plays with tremendous anticipation. I think this is an NFL guy. Second or third quarterback as a rookie. If he gets in a game at the NFL, he played hurt this year. So he could actually be even better than he was in Curt Cignetti's first year at Indiana, which was a big bump. Curtis Rourke, number 8 on my QB list for 2025. And finally, my number 9 ranked quarterback, Donovan Smith out of Houston. Have you heard of this guy? His size, 6'5", 215 pounds, and athleticism. This guy's going to run 4.5 in the 40 when the combine comes around. And arm strength are all enticing, but the inexperience shows in a slow processing and often late throws. So sort of the opposite of Curtis Rourke. Doesn't really see the field that well. Doesn't really see it before it opens. Again, another kind of see it, throw it passer. Definitely a raw prospect who could shine at the combine and rise late in the process. You heard it here first. But again, size, 6'5", 215, that runs 4.5 with a big arm. Yeah, we can work with that. So I project him as a round 5 to round 6 guy, just as pure projection. This guy could boom or bust, right? So he was number 9 on my list of NFL caliber draftable QBs. Now I have as my last tier here, I just labeled them others. All right. These are guys that may get a shot, but I just don't think are NFL QBs. And I'm going to start with Kyle McCord out of Syracuse. Might have heard of him, played at Ohio State last year. Really doesn't possess the requisite arm strength or any overwhelming physical traits to succeed at the next level. But he does show potential to be an emergency quarterback, as he does show the ability to process, get through reads, and utilize the talent around him. And the note I made for him was probably a future coach. Think guys like Ken Dorsey, University of Miami, now an offensive coordinator. Got fired a couple times, but clearly a smart guy. And his name escapes me at the moment. Kellen Moore, the offensive coordinator for the Eagles, who's likely a head coach soon. Guys with unbelievable college records. Not really the most physically talented guys, but they succeeded because of their brain. And that's Kyle McCord. He's going to elevate and utilize the guys around him, put the ball on time, on target, in the right spot. And the last quarterback on my list, I don't think he'll make it as an NFL starter, but I do think he'll get a shot. Riley Leonard out of Notre Dame, formerly of Duke. You're talking about prototypical size, 6'4", 220, with above average athleticism for the position. Toughness, and leadership are his best qualities. But beyond that, this isn't an NFL QB. Struggles with mechanics, consistency, processing, and certainly accuracy. This is going to sound a bit like Stephen A. Smith commenting on Kwame Brown a few years back. He can't play. No disrespect whatsoever, but I'm sorry to tell everybody the truth. The man cannot play QB at the NFL level. Okay? Are we good on that? Are we clear? All right, so that's it. I ranked 11 quarterbacks, guys who I believe will be in this class, hopefully helping you out with your Madden team perhaps, maybe give you a little insight to if your team is drafting high. Hopefully you feel a little bit better about these QBs in a class that I think people are really down on at this point in the year, but it's still January. There's still plenty of time. But all right, that's going to do it for today's episode of the Draft Podcast. Now I want to hear from you. Who's your top quarterback in the draft? Which one has franchise written all over them? And which one has you shaking your head? Hit me up on X, Twitter, at RufusP88. I'll even accept the hot takes. Just don't at me with your Brock Purdy comps, okay? Let's keep the conversation going, and who knows, you might even hear your take on a future episode. That's it for me. I'll see you all Monday morning on the next Flagship City Sports Talk, 9 a.m. on 105.9 FM and TalkErie.com. Thanks for tuning in to the Draft Podcast. I'm Paul Adamaszek, reminding you that in the NFL Draft, hope springs eternal unless Chris Grier is your general manager.